Hey, how's it going, Pop-Up Camper family? Welcome back to It's Poppin'. I know it's been a minute since we put out our last video. Well, and short story is we moved. So we've been busy selling our house, packing, moving, unpacking, and getting our new house all ready. So as you might be able to see, we have like a whole new space, not to mention boxes still everywhere. So that's where we've been. We have a completely new renovation garage. Speaking of which, I kind of want to maybe do a series on renovating our garage here. It's kind of bare bones, but it is a 3-car. It's over 900 square feet, so it's a lot to work with, and it'll be a great space with that third bay for renovating and working on our pop-ups in the future. But nevertheless, let's jump into the point of this video. And this is a video I've been meaning to do forever, but of course life got in the way. And that is the 4 things you need to do every time you hook up your pop-up camper, whether it's to go camping, whether it's coming home, whatever, wherever and wherever you're going with your pop-up. I recommend doing these 4 things every time. And we have a great mnemonic device for you to remember it, so you don't have to pull out a checklist or anything. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So first things first, the mnemonic device is C.L.A.P. So, and we made this up, so feel free to use it or make up your own. And if you have one that you've already made up and feel free to share with the rest of us. But it's pretty easy to remember, you know, clap your hands, right? So the first thing, of course, is going to be C, and that stands for connection. And most of you seasoned pros know that the first thing for connection is, of course, getting your pop-up hitched up. So that's what we'll do first. See if I can wrestle this onto the hitch here. Looks like I had success the first time. So now that the weight's off of our tongue jack here, I can, of course, pop this latch down. Now, one handy tip that you guys taught me actually a while ago was once that's connected on, run that tongue jack back up. And as long as it lifts your the rear end of your car back up, you should have a solid connection. Just like that. So I'm pretty confident that that's good. So that's the first part of our connection. Next up, of course, we've got our safety chains. So those just hang on like that. Remember to cross them. We, of course, have, in our case, a 7-pin wiring harness. And then finally, we have our breakaway disconnect switch. So with, of course, it being connected here, your safety chains, your wiring harness, and finally, if applicable, your breakaway switch, you're all connected. So next up, L is for lug nuts. It's important to make sure every time you go out, and okay, maybe not like if you've checked this just the Friday prior to going out on a short trip, but if you haven't gone camping for a couple weeks or a month, definitely check your lug nuts. So our lug nuts, which of course we have 5 of them, require 115 foot-pounds of torque. So I highly recommend, if you don't have one, is picking up one of these torque wrenches. Come in really handy for dialing in whatever specific torque you need for your pop-up camper. So that brings me to my next point. Check your manual for that specific pound-feet of torque recommended for your specific pop-up. So our pop-up camper requires 3/16 inch socket. Make sure I'm going the right way here. But if you don't have a torque wrench, definitely pick up one of these inexpensive, just, you know, essentially tire irons that you can use for your pop-up camper's lug nuts. And while you're tightening them, make sure you go in that, you know, nice star pattern. And I probably just messed that up because I was talking. But make sure you go in that star pattern as you're tightening things up. So next up is A, which many of you, I can only imagine, can guess that that stands for air pressure. So for our pop-up camper, we have load range D tires that specify 65 pounds per square inch. So we fill ours up to 65 PSI. Go with whatever your tire says. You may or may not have a nice handy dandy information sheet that probably used to be right here, and it specified the size of tires, the load range, and it also has handy information such as the PSI. But if you bought your pop-up used or secondhand, the previous owner may have changed out the tires, they may have changed sizes slightly, and especially they may have changed the load range. So go with whatever PSI it says on the side of your pop-up camper's tire, and make sure you fill it completely to that level. Don't undercut it by 5 PSI, 2 PSI, 1 PSI. Go exactly to whatever it says. So if you just picked up a pop-up camper, say that 5 times fast, for the first time, and you have tires that need more than 50 PSI, definitely consider getting a pressure gauge that can go maybe to 100, which is what we have here. 120 actually, so that comes in handy for checking the PSI on these load range Ds. Finally, P is for put away. We couldn't think of anything better, but you get the gist of it. Essentially, what I want you guys to do is walk around your pop-up camper and make sure everything is stowed away, put in place, put up, wherever it needs to be for travel. So I'll give you a few examples as we walk around our Jayco here. So starting at the front here, like things like the front storage box, right? That of course needs to be locked up. So we'll of course do that. That way this isn't flying open while we're traveling down the road. Other things of course to consider are your stabilizer jacks. Check all 4 corners, make sure all of them are up, because if you leave with those down, they're gonna break or drag or snap off or something bad. Of course, you also wanna make sure like your side storage access boxes are closed. Make sure your roof clasps are up and clasped on. All 8, 6, 4 of them, whatever you got. Cassette toilet locked up. How about maybe the step? Make sure that's in. And of course, because we are connected to our pop-up, we can de-chalk or unchalk, whatever word you want to use for it. So essentially, all I'm saying is go around your pop-up and make sure that everything is in order. This of course also isn't a bad time to make sure all of your lights are working, brake lights, turn indicators, and all of your accessory lights, just that of course light up your pop-up on the sides and front, and things of that nature. So take that opportunity as you're walking around to test the lights as well. So we use the mnemonic C.L.A.P. It's pretty easy to it's so stupid, but it's pretty easy to remember, right? Connection, lug nuts, air pressure, and of course put away. Once again, if you guys have a better saying or phrase that you guys use to remember everything you need to do before you take off for a trip or coming back or whatever, definitely let us know. We'd love to maybe improve our own, but there you have it. So every time you take your pop-up, just clap. So as always, guys, hopefully we see you in the next video. If not, hopefully we see you out there camping.